Hola a todos, amigos del Fantástico, bienvenidos a una nueva emisión de Curtas, Festival do Imaginario 2023. Hoy para hablar con todo un icono del Fantástico, una mujer que protagonizó una genial trilogía dirigida por Lucio Fulci, que todos conocéis seguramente, y que prácticamente no necesita presentación, pero os voy a pedir a todos los que estáis aquí en la sala y a los que estáis en vuestra casa también, a ver si os oímos, que suene muy fuerte, un grandísimo aplauso para Catriona Maccoll. Well, Catriona, thank you for coming to Spain. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias for inviting me. Thank you. Despite the weather, I'm having a fantastic time. Yeah. Fantastic is the word.
A pesar del tiempo, estoy teniendo un tiempo aquí fantástico, ¿no? Bueno, como ayer, yo voy a iniciar preguntas, pero por favor que seáis vosotros los que tengáis el encuentro con Catriona y podáis preguntarle todas aquellas cuestiones que queráis, ¿vale? Well, Catriona.
Yes.
Talk to us. How was work with Lucio Fulci?
Well, he had a certain reputation, as I think everybody knows.
Él tenía una cierta reputación, como todos los que estáis aquí sabéis.
But I didn't know too much about that when I met him.
Pero yo no sabía mucho de eso cuando lo conocí.
And the meeting in itself, the first meeting in itself was unforgettable.
El primer meeting que tuvimos fue, inolvidable.
Because I flew to Rome, they flew me to Rome, especially to meet him, and I met him in this incredibly decadent, extraordinary palace, which belonged to the agent that found me.
La hicieron volar a Roma para reunirse con él y se reunió en un increíblemente decadente palacio.
And I didn't know it then, but Lucio didn't talk a lot, in fact.
Lucio no hablaba mucho.
Even when he directed.
Incluso cuando dirigía.
Unless he was cross and it wasn't going as he wanted it to. Mm-hmm. But so at this meeting, I think he was almost more intimidated than I was because he didn't say very much.
Quizás estaba más intimidado de lo que estaba yo porque no decía mucho.
And I'd made a big effort. I came really dressed up, and he was dressed up too. And that was the only time in the few years that I worked with him that he was ever dressed up.
Ella se preparó para la reunión, pero Lucio también se preparó y cree que fue la única vez que lo vio tan preparado.
Anyway, my worry when I read the script that night in the hotel, because he told me that I couldn't go home before telling him whether I was doing it or not. In fact, I'd got the role before I got there, which is the only time.
Ella estaba preocupada porque tenía que leer el guión esa noche y tenía que decirle lo que opinaba antes de irse a casa.
And I'd never read a horror film script before.
Nunca había leído un guión de terror antes.
So when I read it, I was horrified.
Cuando lo leyó, ella estaba aterrorizada.
So then I thought, okay, let's calm down here. And so I read it very quickly again. And I realized that, in fact, I didn't have to do too many horrible things. It was a few, but they were quite weak with regards to what the others had to do.
Uh-huh. Lo leyó muy rápido y se dio cuenta de que ella no tenía que hacer muchas cosas terroríficas, más bien eran los otros los que las tenían que hacer.
So I thought, well, maybe it's okay to do this, but I was worried as to its content and the effect that it might have on my future career.
Pensaba que quizás era correcto hacerlo, pero estaba preocupada de cómo podía afectarle a su carrera en el futuro.
So, before I left the following morning, I thought I have to give my answer. So I called my agent in London and I said, I'm really not sure that this is a good idea that I do this.
A la mañana siguiente llamó a su agente para poder darle la respuesta a Lucio y le dijo que quizás no estaba muy segura de querer hacer esto.
And he said, what are now famous phrases, he said, well, do you have any other projects at the moment? And I said, no. And he said, do you want to go to America? Because we shot all the exteriors, as you know, probably in America. And he said, do you want to go to Rome for 7, 8, 9 weeks? I said, well, of course I want to go to Rome. And then he said, do you need the money? And I said, well, of course I need the money. And then he said, well, just do it. No one will ever see it.
Bueno, básicamente lo que le dijo creo que sí. Lo que le dijo la gente fue,
You have a project, yeah.
¿Tienes otro proyecto? No. ¿Necesitas el dinero? Sí. ¿Quieres estar en Roma por 9 semanas? ¿Quieres viajar a Estados Unidos? Sí. Pues entonces hazlo. No lo va a ver nadie.
So I thought, oh, well, if nobody will ever see it, apart from perhaps in Italy, then I don't have to worry about it. That's fine. And that's how my work with Lucio, my project with him started.
Básicamente, como no lo va a ver nadie, no hay de qué preocuparse. Hagámoslo. Así fue como empezó todo.
And in fact, I often think of those words because it's really true what he said to me, because despite the fact that I had and still have, not so much, but still, a kind of parallel career in more traditional television, film, and sometimes in the past, theatre. In fact, these films made my career.
Al final, pese a que tiene todavía algunos otros proyectos fuera del género, al final estas películas son las que le dieron una carrera.
And now that for a number of years now, for a long time, in fact, these films kind of, because I ran away from them. I didn't put them on my CV because I thought, a respectable young English actress shouldn't be doing horror movies in Italy. So I didn't even put them on my CV for many years.
No ponía en su currículum las películas porque no era algo de lo que sentirse orgulloso, por decirlo de alguna manera, ¿no?
And then, little by little, when I went to other auditions or met producers, I suddenly noticed they had the poster behind them in their office, and they were very respectable producers. So I began to think, well, wait a minute, maybe it's okay. And so then I took them on board, if you see what I mean, and I agreed to go with them rather than fight them.
Luego se dio cuenta de que cuando iba a otras audiciones con productores más respetables, de repente veía que tenían el póster detrás y decían, oye, pues igual está bien y no está tan mal esto de hacer películas de terror, ¿no?
And now I'm really proud of them. So.
Y ahora está muy orgullosa de haberlas hecho. Bueno, quizás queráis hacer alguna pregunta vosotros. Empezamos por allí.
Se dice que Lucio Fulci era muy exigente en los rodajes y de vez en cuando echaba alguna bronca. ¿Alguna le cayó?
Well, let's put it this way. He and I ended up having what I would call a very good relationship, even from the beginning, because I was doing what he wanted. He respected my work, but he wasn't always very nice to other people. And I can't say for all the actresses that he worked with in his other films, because he worked with a lot of actresses, but he had a reputation for being particularly difficult with female actresses.
Básicamente con ella siempre fue muy agradable porque hacía lo que él le pedía. Sí es cierto que tiene una reputación con otras actrices, pero ella no sabe. Ella lo que sabe es que lo que vio en el set era agradable, vamos, trabajar.
But you know, I did witness this with some of the actresses in his films, and there were a couple of occasions when I did see his sadistic side. The famous scene in the City of the Living Dead, where the worms are kind of blown at us towards the end. And it's quite a good story because we had to do the close-ups. We did the wide shot, and it was rice coming. It's very effective.
Está diciendo que en algún momento vio su parte más sádica. Por ejemplo, en La Ciudad de los Muertos Vivientes, la escena de los gusanos, que primero rodaron de manera abierta, que era maíz que les caía delante, pero luego había que hacer tomas más cercanas.
And then we had to do the close-ups of that scene. So then we were talking about real worms coming out of the machine, being blown at us.
En las tomas cercanas eran gusanos reales que salían de la máquina.
And I was the last one to do the close-up. The other three did them before me, so I saw what was happening, if you see what I
Ella
mean.
fue la última en hacer la toma, las otras actrices lo hicieron primero y entonces sabía lo que le esperaba, quizás.
And it was the end of the day. The producer was looking at his watch because time is money. And I started saying, I can't do this. I was really getting in a state about it. And so the wonderful makeup artist, he stuck my clothes down so that the worms couldn't get inside. Do you want to translate that?
Al menos la persona de maquillaje le adhirió la ropa para que los gusanos no pudieran entrar.
And the wonderful script lady, she walked me around the block twice to kind of calm me down, and she said it's going to be all right. And then they gave me two cognacs.
Básicamente le dieron 2 vueltas alrededor del edificio para que se calmara y le dieron 2 cognacs.
And then I did it.
Y luego lo hizo.
But that's when I saw Lucio's more sadistic side, because he kept the camera rolling. And I wasn't acting, I was really doing it for real, so I'm making all these faces and grimaces, and I was going, my God, when is he going to say cut? And he didn't, he kept it going. And then I got really cross. I couldn't really express it because I was in action, but I just got cross that he was enjoying watching me suffer.
Oh. Ahí vio el lado más sádico de Lucio. Estaban grabando la escena y ella estaba pensando corta, ya está bien, y Lucio seguía rodando porque en realidad estaba disfrutando viéndola sufrir, ¿no?
And there were a few other occasions, but on the whole not too many compared to some of the other actors.
Hubo algunas otras ocasiones, pero al final no tantas como con otros, ¿no?
Otherwise I would never have done 3 films with him.
Pero hizo 3 películas con él al final.
Buenas. Además de Lucio Fulci, ha trabajado usted con grandes directores de género como Pascal Laugier y Richard Stanley. Me gustaría saber cuál es la experiencia y qué recuerda de ese trabajo con directores con tanta personalidad.
With them, with the other ones. Well, well, they all had rather unique, it's kind of polite that, unique personalities, let's put it like that. And Richard Stanley, definitely, because there were many stories about Richard Stanley. But they were all so, Pascal Laugier as well, and he was a young director at the time. They were also inspired by Lucio Fulci, because Pascal took quite a long time to find me. I was...
Básicamente todos tienen una personalidad muy fuerte. Richard Stanley es toda una personalidad, lo sabes bien, Rubén, que lo has conocido en persona. Pascal también, y Pascal la estuvo buscando.
But the fact that they were kind of in awe of me, so they wanted me in the movies, and I enjoy a challenge, and I'd already managed to kind of, you understand the word tame Lucio, to tame him, so I thought, I'm going to tame the others, I'm going to sort them out, I'm going to make sure it's okay, I'm going to win.
Básicamente
challenge, I like it, yeah.
Se me ha ido.
What?
Bueno, básicamente ellos la estuvieron buscando y a ella le gustaba trabajar con ellos y aceptar ese reto, ¿no? de trabajar con ellos.
Yeah, I like the idea of getting on with difficult directors. It's a challenge to make it work.
El reto era trabajar con directores difíciles y a ella le gustaba eso.
I've had a lot of directors that weren't difficult that I really liked, but it was like a double challenge, and Richard Stanley was quite something. But I in fact, in the Richard Stanley short, because it was a short, the Theatre Bizarre, I had always wanted to play a witch, so it was perfect. I was a witch that turned into a toad, so that was really creative. It was wonderful.
En el corto de Richard Stanley es una bruja. Which is the name of the short?
Theatre. Well, it's actually 6 shorts in a film called Theatre Bizarre.
En Teatro Bizarro.
There was American directors.
De Richard Stanley, que son 6 cortos que montan esa película. Ella interpreta a una bruja y ahí fue relativamente.
And I, in the story, I turn people into toads. You understand? I transform people. Toads is crapul.
Sapos,
Yes.
Sapos.
Yes. Crapul.
Transforman personas en sapos.
I become a toad, and when I put my spell on them, they become a toad too. They died usually as well.
Se convierten en sapo y básicamente cuando le pone el hechizo a los otros se convierten en sapos también.
And so, she was a very wicked character, kind of wicked fairy tale character, but so much fun. The wicked ones are so much fun to play,
Estas son las más divertidas.
And as I grow older, when I was young, I always played the young heroine, but as I grow older, I'm playing the more wicked ones, so that's much fun.
Cuando era más joven era la heroína joven, ahora que me estoy haciendo mayor soy la embrujada, ¿no?
Yeah. I hope I answered the question.
Al respecto de esta película que hizo, Mother of Toads es la tercera película lovecraftiana que hace. Me gustaría saber si tiene alguna relación o ha leído algo del autor Lovecraft.
Yes, obviously I don't know the author very, very well. I'm not a sort of addict to Lovecraft like Richard Stanley is. But we had, so to answer your question, I'm not a specialist in Lovecraft, but obviously I have heard it and him talked about for a long time. And in fact, we had a real witch on the set. We shot this in the Pyrenees in France, and they found this extraordinary witch.
He's living there.
He's living there. Yeah. And he was, of course, all into the Book of Ibon and all that. It was quite amusing, not so frightening. But
básicamente sí conoce a Lovecraft. Richard además le habló muchísimo de ello. Él es un verdadero adicto a Lovecraft. Y de hecho incluso rodaron en los Pirineos, incluso tenían una bruja en el set y Richard estaba allí con el libro de Bond también y todas estas cosas.
And Richard Stanley, he's very bizarre. He's really bizarre. But
Richard Stanley es muy bizarro.
Yes, and I know the stories about him from before and how he got fired from Hollywood and all of that. But they are quite funny, the stories. And he's a highly intelligent person. Yeah. He knows all about history, and he had all these projects that he wanted me to be in. They haven't happened, but
Richard es una persona muy inteligente, eso no hay ninguna duda, y aunque sea muy bizarro, y ella conoce todas esas historias alrededor de Richard Stanley, pero también es muy divertido.
But we got on fine. I think I'm quite good at getting on with difficult men.
También dijo antes que aunque
say.
Él la quería en muchos otros proyectos, pero lamentablemente no se ha materializado, que eso es importante. ¿Más preguntas? Por allá.
And can I say something?
Yeah.
As a result of all these atypical films that I've done, I actually consider that it's a privilege now to have what I call an atypical career. I didn't just sort of do the traditional TV series. I did also do those, but I'm very proud of my atypical career, and I want it to continue being different if it's possible.
Quiere continuar siendo diferente y está realmente orgullosa de su atípica carrera. O sea, creo que eso es algo que es realmente de agradecer, de que alguien que se ha dedicado al género durante toda su vida, ahora de repente esté realmente orgullosa de estar haciendo género. Y creo que eso es algo que se merece un aplauso, ¿no?
Buenas, yo era por preguntar que si podía hablar de la película Hub the Slayer, porque es una película que es de culto en Estados Unidos, en el mundo anglosajón, pero en España no se la conoce nada.
Nobody's seen Hawk the Slayer. Yes. Yes, so it's never been seen in Spain, is that it? Or
I think that in festivals, yes.
because it is, you're right, it is a cult film, but of course when we made all these films we had no idea they were going to become cults, and well, that film had a lot of really fantastic again, British actors in it, and of course Jack Palance, American.
Esta película tiene muchos... bueno, primero, cuando hicieron esa película, evidentemente no sabían que se iba a convertir en una película de culto. Tiene muy buenos actores y actrices en el reparto y a Jack Palance.
And I had the difficult task of putting a flaming torch into Jack Palance's face. That's what I had
Ella
to
tenía
do.
que poner el fuego en la cara de Jack Palance.
And Jack Palance was dressed in this kind of Darth Vader outfit. It wasn't that long after Star Wars, so I think they got inspired for his costume, you know. So it was all in black.
Él iba vestido todo de negro en ese traje estilo Darth Vader. Era una película que se estrenó poco después de Star Wars y estaría inspirada posiblemente.
And, you know, he was a very impressive man because he was very, very tall. But the first time I met him, he was wearing this costume, okay?
Él era un hombre muy impresionante. La primera vez que lo vio llevaba vestido ese traje.
And the makeup artist was terrified of him and didn't know how to deal with him at all, really. She said, I don't know how to make him up. So I thought, okay, another challenge. I'm going to go and talk to him because he was quite shy. He kind of stayed in his corner and didn't talk to anybody. Mm-hmm. And so I did, and we started talking about Scotland. I don't know why. Go ahead. Go on. Sorry.
El técnico de efectos especiales estaba realmente impresionado y amedrentado con él y al final tuvo ella que hablar con él y se acercó a él y empezaron a hablar de Escocia, no sabe por qué.
I sort of found a subject. I think someone told me he liked Scotland, and I'm half
Cree que
Scottish.
alguien le dijo que le gustaba Escocia.
And I'm half Scottish. So
y ella es medio escocesa.
So we started talking about Scotland. And after that, it was absolutely fine. You know, he and I managed to put the torch in his face, and it was great. I loved it. And of course, it was the first what they call laser. What do they call it? Sword and laser film, I think. Because they did obviously Three Musketeers. There's loads of films with swords, but swords with lasers.
Okay.
I think.
Cree que es la primera película con espadas y láseres. Y después de hablar ahí con él de Escocia, entonces todo estuvo bien y él estaba más cercano y pudo ponerle el fuego en la cara y todo.
And you know, it was quite a sort of my part was a romantic part, so it was
Su parte
nice.
fue la parte romántica.
It was lovely. We shot it in the summer in England. No, it was great.
Y le encantó.
Very nice memory.
En verano en Inglaterra.
But none of us knew it was going to become cult. You know?
Pero no tenían ni idea de que se iba a convertir en una película de culto.
Mm-hmm. Has he seen it? Has he seen it?
¿Tú la has visto?
Yo la vi en televisión una vez cuando era niño.
Yes.
Creo que fue en la gallega. Y me quedé.
Yes. Yeah, I understand.
Es una de esas películas que si la ves de niño te quedas.
I mean, maybe it appears. I haven't seen it for years, so maybe it appears a little old-fashioned now. But probably this generation would children when they saw it, you know. So it's probably very good for children.
Igual se ve muy antigua hoy en día, pero
I don't know.
Nuestra generación seguramente le gustará.
I don't know.
Hola. A ver, simplemente quería comentar una cosa. Viendo la película de Tarantino, Eres una vez en América, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
no en América, en Hollywood, los actores americanos, cuando les ofrecían hacer el cine italiano, lo veían como casi el fin de la carrera. No sabían si iba a ser algo bueno o iba a ser algo malo, y terminó siendo algo muy bueno para ellos porque se les reconoció, ¿no?, a partir de hacer ese cine italiano. Por lo que tú comentas, cuando en los 80 os llamaban para hacer cine italiano, tenía la misma sensación, ¿no?
What? Yes, I saw it twice. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
¿Cuál era la pregunta?
Y la pregunta, bueno, lo quería comentar. ese cine os acabó dando prestigio, realmente es el que más se recuerda.
The what? Yes. Well, yes, and I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned Tarantino because he is one of Lucio's greatest fans, in fact.
Tarantino es uno de los grandes fans de Lucio.
And I'm still waiting for him to call me.
Todavía está esperando que la llame.
But I did do a Laserdisc. I think I did one of the first Laserdisc commentaries for his company, Grindhouse Releasing. And in fact, it was Sylvester Stallone's son. Can't remember his something Stallone. I can't remember Ralph Stallone. Something. No, I can't remember his name. He's dead now, sadly. But he called me up at midnight, and I didn't believe it was him because he had the same voice as his father. And I thought it was an actor friend of mine from London making a joke. You know, it's like, hello, this is Stallone, you know, at midnight. And so I sort of made a joke. And the conversation went on. And then I realized it really was him calling me from Hollywood at midnight.
Básicamente hizo un comentario para un Laserdisc para Tarantino. A ella le recibió una llamada y resultó ser el hijo de Sylvester Stallone, que lamentablemente está muerto. Y ella al principio no se creía que fuera él. Dijo, me está tomando este amigo de Londres que tengo, me está tomando el pelo haciéndose pasar por el hijo de Stallone. Pero no, era realmente él.
So I went to London, and it was actually very sad because David Warbeck from the Beyond did it with me. It was the Beyond because Grindhouse, which was Tarantino's company, brought out a lot of the films at midnight in Italy, in America. And so we've sort of, I never spoke to him personally, but we've had a kind of relationship through these films over the years.
Básicamente la compañía de Tarantino fue la que publicó muchas de esas películas en Estados Unidos. En este caso era El Más Allá, la película para la que estaba haciendo el comentario, y aunque no lo conoció, sí tiene esa relación a través de este lanzamiento.
And this Laserdisc was sad because David was dying, basically, and we did it. He was on his bed, and we did this Laserdisc. It's the last time I saw him, in fact.
Fue la última vez que vio a David y fue muy triste porque hicieron el comentario y él estaba en cama, se estaba muriendo.
But he was incredible. He had such a fantastic sense of humor, David. And he was telling all these jokes about the shoot. We laughed our way through it, in fact.
Fue muy divertido porque él tenía un maravilloso sentido del humor y estaba continuamente haciendo bromas y...
So it was very moving, in fact.
Fue realmente conmovedor.
Y quería, ya que estoy, voy a hacer otra pregunta, ya dejo a los demás que también hagan lo suyo. Trabajaste con Fulci en 3 películas. Aquí, no me ve. Aquí.
What? Oh, sorry. Hi. Yeah.
Trabajaste con
I should be wearing glasses.
Trabajaste con Fulci en 3 películas. Él luego siguió haciendo películas, se murió en el 96. ¿Te llegó a llamar alguna vez más para hacer alguna otra película? ¿No? ¿Cómo fue luego la relación a raíz de esas 3 películas? Y otra pregunta, y ya, espera, para un poco, ya te hago todo ya.
Que luego me tengo que acordar. Me ponéis en problema.
Dale.
Básicamente está preguntando de cuándo se trabajaste en 3 películas.
What are you talking?
¿Ves lo que pasa?
It's so difficult. I do understand.
Basically, you work. ¿Y el aplauso qué, cabrones? Basically, you worked with Lucio in 3 films.
Yes.
And how was the relationship with him after? He called you for another project? And
Yes. Well, he did call me for another project. I actually didn't read that project, and I've never seen it. And people have told me that I wouldn't have liked it because I'm not a kind of traditional horror fan. That's the contradiction, in fact, that I'm known as a horror queen, but I'm not actually.
Sí le ofreció otra película. No la ha visto, le han dicho que estaría que le iba a gustar. No la leyó.
But I decided that 3 was enough because at that time I didn't want to be known as a horror queen. I didn't want to. And in fact, history has caught up with me, and they have haunted me, these films, ever since, you know.
Ella no quería ser recordada en ese momento como una reina del terror y 3 fueron suficientes.
And a lot of people have told me that, I don't know if you would agree, that I was right not to do it. Because I do think you can have too much of a good thing, you know?
Y tú le dirás, porque mucha gente le ha dicho, igual tú compartes esa opinión, que hizo bien en no hacer esa película.
I mean, I'm not sure. It's a question I ask. Maybe this trilogy would not have become a trilogy if I'd done it. I don't know.
Si ella hubiera hecho una película más, esa trilogía ya no sería una trilogía. Y es parte del mito, quizás, ¿no?
You know, I don't think... I mean, okay, I'm an actress, so when you're working, you're exposed. But I don't think you should be sort of overexposed. If you're a big star, then you can do what you like.
Evidentemente, cuando eres actriz, estás expuesta, pero ella tampoco quería estar sobreexpuesta.
Like to keep a bit of mystery.
Mantener un poco el misterio.
Perdona, Luis, si es un poco larga la pregunta, voy a resumir.
Uy, madre de Dios.
What's that?
A long question.
A long question.
No,
Okay,
not much.
we'll try.
Catherine es el nombre británico de Catriona. Es
Yes.
el nombre que figura en las películas de Fulci. En el cine italiano...
Catherine, yeah.
En el cine italiano solían utilizar alias extranjeros para atraer al público, pero en este caso ambos nombres son extranjeros. A lo mejor es una stupid question, me puedes poner a Friedkin, ¿vale?
No stupid questions.
Gracias, Friedkin.
Oh, I want to know what it was. What is
Mi
it?
pregunta es, ¿por qué Catherine y no Catriona en el
So
marketing?
why am I called Catherine and not Catriona? Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Terence Young and all of that, yeah. What? Oh. Well, because, it's quite a funny answer in actual fact, because the first time I agreed to do the film, this Italian agent who lived in this palace said to me, "You cannot be called Catriona." And I said, "Why not?" And he said, "Because in Italian, I don't know, maybe it's the same in Spanish, in Italian, any word that ends in O-N-A means huge. So it kind of means Fat Catherine in Italian."
Básicamente, el productor que la recibió en aquel castillo decadente le dijo: no puede ser Catriona porque en italiano el I-O-N-A significa una gorda Catherine.
Big, you know. And so at the time, because I thought the films would never be seen,
Como ella pensaba que la película nunca iba a ser vista,
I said, well, you know, one of my heroines is Katharine Hepburn, so call me Catherine.
una de mis heroínas es Catherine Hepburn, entonces llamarme Catherine.
And then, as we continued to work together, I suddenly thought, well, wait a minute. My name is Catriona. Why shouldn't I be called Catriona? I'm not huge. I don't care. That's my name. And in fact, Catriona is Catherine in Gaelic. Yeah.
Catriona es Catherine in Gaelic, y cuando continuaron haciendo películas dijo: espera un momento, yo no soy grande, ¿por qué tengo que cambiarme el nombre? Porque no puedo ser Catriona.
Exactly. No.
¿Quieres continuar? Bueno, después vuelvo.
Entre sus películas menos conocidas, ¿hay alguna que le gustaría reivindicar, que le parecía que debería haber tenido más éxito, de la que se siente especialmente orgullosa?
Which ones? The ones with Lucio? Or?
No.
Oh.
All your career, the less well known, which one do you want to put?
Oof. That is a difficult question.
We can put a video if you want. Dale.
A video?
Dale el video. Sí.
Oh. What is it? Oh, okay. Very good. Well, that's a difficult one. Well, let's just say a film that is completely the opposite of Lucio Fulci and the films
Vamos a
I
decir
did.
una película que es completamente lo opuesto a las de Lucio.
Is a French film produced by the Japanese.
Es una película francesa producida por japoneses
And in English.
y ingleses.
With English, very good actors.
muy buenos actores ingleses.
Yeah. And it's called Lady Oscar. It was adapted from a very famous manga in Japan.
Lady Oscar es una adaptación de un manga muy famoso en Japón.
20 volumes.
20 números.
Yes. And it was directed by a very famous French director from the Nouvelle Vague, if you know the Nouvelle Vague, called Jacques Demy, whom I adored and is highly respected in France.
Fue dirigida por un director altamente respetado en Francia que procede de la Nouvelle Vague, que no voy a repetir el nombre porque lo voy a pronunciar mal, pero ese director.
And well, this project had music by Michel Legrand, Yves Montand. There was all kinds of incredible French actors. No, because it was in English. No, because I did a second film with Jacques Demy, where Yves Montand. But this film was kind of supposed to make me into a big star. That's what everybody told me at the time.
Todo el mundo le dijo que esa película se suponía que la iba a convertir en una gran estrella.
And in Japan, it did. I had 9 bodyguards when I went to Japan, honestly.
En Japón lo hizo. Cuando fue a Japón tenía 9 guardaespaldas.
Because the heroine was so famous, the role that I played.
Porque el papel que interpretó era muy famoso.
And it's a story that takes place during the French Revolution, based on a true story.
Es una historia basada en historia real que se desarrolla durante la Revolución Francesa.
Of a young woman that goes through the French Revolution dressed as a man.
Es una mujer que está en la Revolución Francesa y se viste como un hombre.
Very fashionable subject today.
Sí, un argumento muy actual.
But it wasn't then. And it was a lot of money was spent on this project, and as I said, I did the promotion for a month in Japan. I mean, it was incredible. 6 limousines. It was like being in Hollywood in the 40s, but we had moved on in Europe. We didn't drive around with 6 limousines for each screening, if you see what I mean.
Era una producción muy grande y de hecho en Japón durante la promoción estuvieron un mes en Japón haciendo la promoción de la película y llevaban 6 limusinas.
And I had to learn to fence, you know.
Tuvo que aprender esgrima.
And ride, because I was a man during the revolution with the sword and everything. And this film had a very strange story because it never really came out in France. It did the festivals and things like that, and we went to Cannes, to the market, and we showed it. But so in Japan it was huge, but it never really came out in Europe. So
es una historia curiosa porque pese a que fue un gran éxito en Japón, en Europa solo se pudo ver en festivales, fue el mercado de Cannes, pero realmente nunca se llegó a estrenar en Europa.
But that's part of the business, you know. You never know. You never know.
Es parte del negocio y tú nunca sabes.
I mean, look what happened. I thought Lucha's films would never be seen, and they are cult, and we're still talking about them. They're cult classics. They were talking about them 40-something years later. And Lady Oscar, which was supposed to make me a star, international star at the time, everyone told me it would, and it didn't. So
Fíjate, me dijeron que iba a ser una estrella por esta película, no sucedió, y en cambio las películas que ella pensó que nadie iba a ver, al final está hablando de ellas años después. ¿No?
After that film, when I went for auditions in France, because a lot of my career was in France, because I live in France, and I love France, and when I would go and meet producers or directors, they all knew about this film because Jacques Demy, the director, was so famous. And they would say to me, "Oh, you're the girl that played the heroine in that film that's never been seen."
Ella vive en Francia y la película, como el director es muy conocido, Jacques Demy, evidentemente cuando ella tiene una reunión con otros directores franceses
for other auditions,
para otros papeles, la reconocen y dicen, tú eres aquella actriz que trabajó con Jacques Demy.
But they'd never seen it.
Pero ellos nunca han visto la película. Curioso. ¿Cómo? Mira, Diego, me piden el tiempo. El público me pide el tiempo.
Vale. Lo siento, es que...
5 minutos.
Eso me da miedo. O sea,
No, a ver,
¿qué
son
vas,
dos...
a gastar 2 minutos o 3 en la pregunta?
No, espero que mucho menos.
Oh, I could talk all
No,
night.
lo siento mucho, es una actriz muy interesante, hay que hacerle preguntas. No puede ser. Una es sobre, Horsehead.
Horsehead.
Es una película muy interesante, muy original y muy
Absolutely.
recomendable, pero también muy arriesgada como muchas de sus películas. Me gustaría saber qué criterio o qué requisitos debe cumplir una película o un personaje para que acepte trabajar en él.
Horsehead. Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes.
It's a risky one.
Yes.
Which conditions has a project to you accept to go on?
Well, why did I accept that? Why did I accept that film in a way? Or
the next ones, what do you need? What do you need to find on the project?
Well, that project, I had known the young director for quite a number of years, and I was helping him because I really believed in him. He's highly intelligent. He very cultivated, and he was very young at the time. So for about 5 years, I was he was like a prodigy in a way of mine, if I may say that. And suddenly he wrote this script, and he wrote me the part. He wrote it for me. Okay. And it was quite a difficult part and an interesting part, and I really liked the project. So I have to really like the project, and I have to get on with the director, and yeah.
Básicamente, el director ya lo conocía desde ya hacía bastante tiempo. Es una persona muy inteligente. Se atreve a decir que incluso, ¿cómo era?
Well, and that's another, like the question before. I really thought he was going to go places. I really did. And he's actually found it really difficult. And he hasn't made a second film since Horsehead. But I agree, I love Horsehead.
No ha conseguido hacer una segunda película. Él casi lo podría llamar de genio, por decirlo de alguna manera. Pero a ella realmente le gustó el proyecto y quería ayudarle a llevarlo.
Even though we all know how difficult it is as a young director to raise the money to make a film.
Todos sabemos lo difícil que es para un joven director conseguir el dinero para hacer una película, ¿no?
But so he liked it. Did he seen it?
Te
and
gustó,
he liked
¿no?
It? Good.
Bien. Okay.
¿Qué nos puede contar sobre Isaac, su última película?
Isaac. How does he know? So I told him, didn't I? About how does he know about Isaac?
¿Te dijo algo de la película a ti o?
No, poca cosa. No, si puedo adelantar algo de la película.
You can say something.
Oh, okay. Isaac, well, there's another challenge. A very young man, 30 years old. It's Tariq Sayed, who is half Palestinian, so he has other problems at the moment. He lives in Britain, and it was an ambitious project because it started as a short during COVID, and in fact he'd shot so much material that because he was locked down, confined during COVID, he decided to turn it into a long, and he wrote the part for me as well. And she's a wonderfully wicked scientist. And I read this very interesting, ambitious script, and I said, I will do it. What can I tell you about it? It's set in the future, and it's about... why are you laughing? It's my husband. He's laughing. He's sorry. Go. Sorry.
Es un proyecto muy ambicioso, dirigido por un director que es medio palestino, por lo que tiene otros problemas ahora. Me vais a perdonar, pero me he olvidado parte.
And he started doing it during COVID, and it was a
Se
short.
empezó durante el COVID como un corto, pero rodó tanto que al final decidió transformarlo en un largo.
Yes, and I don't want to say too much about it because it's quite a difficult pitch.
El rol lo escribió para ella y no quiere hablar mucho.
It takes place in the future.
Tiene lugar en el futuro.
It's a sci-fi horror.
Ciencia ficción, terror.
3 very good actors, me being
3
one of
actores
them.
muy buenos, entre ellos ella, seguro.
And it's another ambitious project that I really believe in. It's just started on the festival circuit in Britain.
Empezó en el circuito de festivales en Reino Unido. Es un proyecto muy ambicioso
And
en el que ella cree.
it's always rewarding when you believe in a project and then the public believe in it and like it, because you don't
siempre
know.
reconfortante cuando tú crees en un proyecto y el público después cree en ese proyecto, porque tú nunca sabes.
And I would just like to say that my career at the moment seems to be continuing with the young directors.
Parece que su carrera ahora continúa con jóvenes directores.
And that's very rewarding in itself, that they recognize everything that I've done and they like it. And I kind of catch their energy because they have such passion and energy that it keeps my energy and my passion going.
Es muy reconfortante para ella porque reconocen su trabajo y a la vez le dan energía para que ella continúe haciendo cosas.
So, I accept conditions that are not necessarily easy because there's not much money.
No es mucho dinero y acepta condiciones que no son muy fáciles.
But I like helping them, and they're the next generation. So if you
Son la
don't
nueva
help them,
generación
what do you do?
Y ella quiere apoyarles.
They are the future, maybe not me,
Ellos son el futuro, quizás no yo. Bueno, thank you very much, Catriona.
Muchas gracias, Luis.
A pleasure to have you here.
The same.
Incredible.
It was difficult getting here. I nearly didn't get here. No, but with the tempest and all of that, it was very difficult getting here. But I'm very pleased I'm here.
No lo sabéis, pero justo antes de llegar aquí ha caído un temporal tremendo con rachas de viento realmente grandes y la cogió en el camino y vamos, ha tenido incluso que arreglarse antes de poder salir aquí.
But just getting from Marseille was difficult.
Ya llegar de Marsella ha sido difícil.
Yeah.
Realmente ha hecho un esfuerzo enorme para estar aquí con nosotros y tenemos que agradecerle.
And I began to think that the universe didn't want me to get here,
Empezó a pensar que realmente el universo no quería
But
que ella viniera.
I was determined
Pero
to
ella
get
estaba
here.
determinada.
And so were you, determined that I would come.
Thank
Anyway,
you very much.
it's great. Thank you so much.
Y vosotros continuad ahí porque enseguida conectamos con la siguiente charla y vendrá Kiko da Silva a hablarnos de su proceso creativo en un libro que lleva preparando 10 años, o sea, no os lo perdáis. A continuación, aquí en Curtas, Festival do Imaginario. Chao, chao.